Welcome back to our channel. This is Jackie, your accountant on duty, who will discuss the electronic simplified processing of SEC or the so-called ESPARC. SEC launches one-day registration system. It's an online company registration system that allows domestic corporation to register with the Commission through the simplified one-day process. This is the so-called OneSEC processing. It stands for one-day approval of the registration anytime, anywhere. Simple procedure to ensure that the data encoded are protected and secured. Efficient management of information and completely seamless and fully automated. To be eligible to register under the OneSEC processing, the following criteria should be met. Number 1, all Filipino company classification. It means lahat ng directors and subscriber of the corporation are natural person and resided in the Philippines. Second, the proposed company name should have a descriptor. Third, the proposed company name should not contain a trade name. Next, the company has a perpetual corporate term of existence. Fifth, the company is not located in any economic zone. 6. The company is able to pay the registration fees immediately. Lastly, none of the company officer or members have pending or convicted criminal cases. Let's discuss the step-by-step registration by using the OneSEC processing for a domestic one-person corporation or an OPC. To start the incorporation process for an OPC, you need to be aware of the documentary requirements and information for the application. Number 1, the Articles of Incorporation or the so-called AOI. Second, the written consent from your nominees. Third, certificate of authenticity. And there will be some special requirement based on your classification and industry. Number 1 is the Foreign Investment Act application form for foreign equity. Second, proof of authority to act on behalf of a trust or an estate. And lastly, for self-appointed treasurer, you need to provide a surety bond. For the Articles of Incorporation, please be ready with the following information. Number 1, the primary purpose of the corporation. Second, the principal address to be used for the registration. Third, the term of existence of your company. Fourth, the name and details of the single stockholder. Fifth, the nominee and alternative nominee. And lastly, the capital structure, your authorized, subscribed, and paid-up capital. Here's the simplified SEC incorporation process. Number 1, complete the online application database or the ESPARC. Second, pay the related SEC fees. The third one, downloading digital SEC certificate. Fourth, submission of the original copies of the SEC documents. And last, the releasing of your original certificate. The first to third process can be done in a single day, wherein you can actually secure your SEC digital certificate of incorporation. Let's start with step 1. Complete the online application database or the so-called ESPARC. Just visit the SEC website by keying www.sec.gov.ph. Go to the Online Services module and select ESPARC. ESPARC is the electronic simplified processing of application for registration of a company. This is a facility to cater application for registration of a one-person corporation and domestic corporation, stock and non-stock, with 2 or more incorporators who can either be a natural person, a partnership, association, or a corporations. Then click the www.esparc.sec.gov.ph. ESPARC provides 2 options to register a corporation. Number 1, the OneSEC processing, and the second one is the regular processing. The difference of the 2 modules are the following. The OneSEC only applies to domestic corporation, including one-person corporation and regular corporation with 2 or more stockholders. All foreign corporation, partnership and non-stock shall be processed under the regular processing. Furthermore, the OneSEC subsystem is considered a pass-through since it only requires minimal encoding of data on the part of the registrants. The primary purpose of the OneSEC is templated and cannot be customized. For the purpose of today's discussion, we will be focusing more on the OneSEC subsystem. To continue, click this icon to go through with the following. The welcome page contains general provisions, terms of use, provisions on the procedure, and the consent form for the system user. To continue, click the OneSEC application form that can be found at the lower section or screen page. The application form will be displayed next. The OneSEC processing of ESPARC application form is grouped into 5 steps or tabs. Each step is composed of sections. The applicant must be able to complete all the steps to enable him to submit his application. In filling out the application form, please take note of the following. All fields with red asterisk or mandatory field must be given the correct values. Second, the system will display an error message. Lastly, the system will send an email notification for one-time passcode and when the registration application is complete. To start the online application form, the first tab to complete is the name verification. To process the name verification, you will need to provide the following. Number 1, select a processing office. Processing office refers to the SEC office where the signed and authenticated notarized hard copies will be submitted and where the SEC registration certificate will be released. The second requirement is the details of the applicant and authorized representative contact details section. Then, provide the correct details for the company type section using the provided drop-down fields. For the company type, it refers whether a company is a stock or a non-stock corporation. Company subtype, whether it's an OPC, corporation with 5 or more than 5 stockholders. Company classification will describe a corporation if all Filipino or with foreign ownership. Company subclass, select if a natural person or an estate. In this section, you will also need to select your industry type such as holdings, manufacturing, real estate, recruitment, and others. Business activity, select whether it's a service or a trading company. Primary purpose will be automatically reflected based on your industry classification. And you may also add secondary purpose in case you are planning to engage to a different business model other than your main business activity. The fourth data needed in this section is your preferred corporate name. There are 3 components of a corporate name. Number 1, the dominant name. Second, the descriptor. And the third one is the suffix. The dominant name refers to your preferred company name which can be customized. Descriptor, since this is a pre-templated module, this will be limited based on your industry classification. For the suffix of an OPC, it's very limited for this too. For other concern pertaining selection of names, you can click this button for the detailed guidelines. After indicating all the relevant information, the summary page will pop up. And if no corrections to be made, please click here to send your OTP to your email to save your application. Just key in the code received from your email to proceed with the next page. The next page will show the status of your name verification. For your reference, here's a sample screenshot of the progress of the corporate name verification. The first one, if the status is ongoing. The second, if the status is already completed. And the third one, if the status is failed or disapproved. If your name verification is disapproved, you may try a new company name or modify the proposed name if necessary. One of the reasons why a proposed name is disapproved is that it is similar or confusingly identical to an existing corporate name. If your proposed name is completely approved, please proceed with the Section 2. Section 2 refers to company details. Number 1 requirement of this section is the principal office address to be used for the registration. The next information for this section is your business contact information, such as telephone number, mobile number, and your official business email address. Then, click Save and proceed with the Section 3. Section 3 will cover the capital structure. To add capital structure, please click this plus icon to provide the following. Number 1, authorized capital stock. This refers to the maximum allowed investment for the corporation. The next one is the subscribed capital stock, which will represent the initial subscription of the incorporator. The amount of the subscribed capital stock should at least 25% of the authorized capital stock. And the 25% of this subscription should represent the paid-up capital. We'll also need to add the details of the authorized capital stock by clicking the plus icon. Details of the authorized capital stock will cover the following: types of shares, the number of shares, and the fair value. After providing the details of capitalization, this section will require the information for your accounting year, such as calendar or fiscal year, start date, and end date, and the term of existence, which can either be perpetual or a specific number of years. After providing the details of the capital structure, you may already click Save and proceed with the Section 4. The Section 4 will cover the company officer. The first one is the treasurer. Again, the single stockholder can be the treasurer of the corporation, provided it covers a surety bond based on the authorized capital stock of the corporation. The next information to be provided is the details of the incorporator. Just click the plus icon to provide the personal details and the subscription details of the incorporator. Another relevant information required by this section is the details of your nominee and alternative nominee. If all the details of incorporator, officer, and nominees are completed, click Confirm, Save and Proceed button to be connected with the next page. You will be directed to a page containing your draft application details. In this last section, you will need to review the accuracy of information encoded, and you may already download the forms, further review and verify the details. Sample of the downloadable forms from the ESPARC are as follows. Number 1, the application form. This particular form includes the summary of your encoded data from the company details, the details of the incorporator, nominees, and officer. The second form is the so-called cover sheet. This document summarizes the contact details of the OPC, such as mobile number, telephone number, and email address to be used by the SEC for all correspondences. The third document is the so-called Articles of Incorporation or AOI. This is the main document for the incorporation, which will state the name, the purpose, the place of office, the incorporator, the structure of the capitalization, and the term of OPC upon establishment. An OPC category, it comprises 11 articles and will require signature of the single stockholder and the treasurer. On a separate note, bylaws is not required under OPC unlike regular corporation. The fourth document is the acceptance letter of the nominee and alternative nominee. Particular document will state the confirmation of the extent and limitation of the authority as the nominee and alternative nominee in the event they are called to manage the affairs of the OPC. This document will require signature of both nominee and alternative nominee. The fifth and last form is the certificate of authentication. This document shall include the attestation of the conformity of the single stockholder to the accuracy of the information generated by the online system of the SEC. and that all information provided have been reviewed. This will also specify the willingness to amend any article if found with defect or not in conformity with the revised corporation code. This particular document will be signed by the single stockholder. Please make sure that draft generated forms are complete and correctly encoded before proceeding to the next page. If all the information provided is correct, you may already click confirm and proceed with the online payment. You will then be directed to the ESEC Pay system. ESEC Pay of the SEC refers to the electronic system for payment. This facility provides a convenient and secure means of processing payment for the different transactions of the SEC. Payment method available under the ESEC Pay are the following: debit or credit card, GCash, PayMaya, and other e-wallet as displayed. After selecting the payment method, the necessary step and process within the payment system. The payment system will process the payment transaction. Provided information is correct and there is enough fund to cover the transaction, you will be directed to the SEC payment portal as displayed on the screen below. Kindly note the payment assessment form is only valid for 45 days from the date of issuance. That said, payment and submission of required document must be done within the 30 calendar days from the date of payment. After a successful payment, you may need to go back to the SEC ESPARC portal to download your digital certificate. And there you have it. By having the digital certificate, you already completed the initial incorporation process for an OPC in just a single day. You may continue registering with the BIR and LGU level by using this certificate. After securing your SEC digital certificate and while processing your registration to the BIR and LGU level, you may already prepare the original documents for manual submission to the SEC. This is the fourth step to complete the incorporation process for an OPC. Please note that the original copy of the Certificate of Registration shall be released only upon presentation of original, signed and notarized documents. Original documents to be submitted in 4 copies are the following. Number 1, the generated digital SEC certificate. Second, the generated cover sheet. Third, the generated application form summary. Fourth, the notarized and signed articles of incorporation. Fifth, the signed acceptance letter from the nominees. Sixth, the signed certificate of authentication. And lastly, the proof of payment of registration fees or the generated digital OR from the ESEC Pay. Submission of the aforementioned document shall be made within 60 days within the issuance of your digital SEC certificate. Failure to submit the said hard copies of the registration documents within the stated period shall result in the automatic revocation of your registration. The fifth and final process for the incorporation is the releasing of your original certificate of registration. After submitting the required documents, you will be receiving an email notification from the SEC that your original certificate of registration has been approved and is scheduled for releasing. Here's a sample of an email notification from the SEC. Average timeline for the availability of original certificate normally range from 5 to 7 banking days from the date of submission. And there you have it. Let's conclude the 5 simplified process of SEC incorporation. To summarize, the first to third process is securing your SEC digital certificate in a single day. The remaining 2 process is obtaining your original SEC certificate from 5 to 7 banking days. In an overall view, under the OneSEC processing, you can complete your SEC incorporation for an OPC from 5 to 7 banking days. On the other note, for the cost of an OPC SEC registration, below are the following estimate fees. For the name registration, it costs 100 pesos. Filing fees of the articles of incorporation is half of 1% of your authorized capital stock but not less than 2,000. The third fees is the so-called legal research fee which represents 1% of your AOI filing fee but not less than 20 pesos. And the fourth is the so-called Foreign Investment Act application fee for foreign ownership, which will cost 3,000 pesos. And lastly, for the documentary stamp tax, which costs 30 pesos. For a minimum of local ownership, it costs 2,150, whereas for foreign ownership, it will cost you a minimum of 5,150. And that's it! Aspiring entrepreneurs like yourself can now easily register a business in the Philippines, thanks to the more straightforward online process of SEC for OPC and corporate registration, or the so-called ease of doing business project of the government. And if you are not confident on the details, best to engage consultant who is knowledgeable in corporate law so you can discuss your corporate needs and requirements. You can also leave your comments below so we can address as soon as we can. We will prepare another set of videos for the continuation of the registration of a corporation or an OPC to the LGU and BIR level. So please hit to subscribe to receive notification. Thank you for watching.